the talk addresses a pretty normal phenomenon, right? That all of us have goals and things that we want, right? And if we're reflective, it seems like we would form these intentions to accomplish them. There are, however, problems with actually bringing about what it is that we desire, right? And specifically, there are three problems. Okay, so one is that even if we know what we want and we're pretty sure about how to go about bringing it about, often what we want depends upon other people and their choices, right? And even if we don't directly require other people to cooperate in helping us bring about what it is that we desire, we need them to stay out of our way at least, right? And that depends upon their choices. So even if it is clear that, we know what we want, we know how to go about achieving it, right? What it is that we want may not be purely dependent upon our choices, and usually never is, right? In which case, it seems like it's not going to be anything we can bring about because we're not in control of what other people choose. And yet somehow we need them to choose in a certain way to help us bring about what we desire. Two, the more unusual and special a goal, the less likely it is, right? And this is just a kind of logical outcome of the idea of a goal being unusual. If it's unusual, say to become, a world famous athlete or singer, or to be an extremely successful proprietor of a business, it's less likely that you will actually accomplish that, even if you are clear on what your goal is and what your desire is. And it's less likely because it's an unusual goal, right? So oddly, then, when we think about the things that we want to accomplish, the more special things will seem to have be less achievable. And if we think about practical action as something that we engage in order to bring about certain ends, if those goals seem less achievable, what ends up happening is we start lowering our expectations and wanting less because we feel like we can't actually accomplish the thing that we really desire. So that's the second problem. And the third problem is that we might not actually know how to go about bringing about what it is that we desire, right? Even though we've thought about it and we've clearly formed our intentions, and we might even believe that we know what we're doing, right? But it's quite possible, and it's very normal, right? We see this all the time, for people to get really, psyched out about a project, and they're really into it, and they've got clear intentions, and they're sinking all sorts of resources and effort into it, and nothing happens. Why? Because they didn't really actually know how to go about bringing it about. They thought they did, they believed they did, but they were wasting their energy and not really directing their efforts in a fruitful manner. And so, in the end, in a way, it seems like they're worse off because they've squandered resources and time accomplishing nothing. Okay, and oddly, that's almost like an argument for not bothering, right? Because at least you won't be squandering resources after a goal that you don't know how to achieve. But look, the problem is, of course, there are all sorts of things we need to accomplish, even as a matter of self-preservation and self-regulation. And so it doesn't really seem like we can opt out of just kind of not doing, right? This is an old argument in the history of yoga philosophy. And so what I'm going to talk about in this talk is how the philosophy of yoga from the Yoga Sutra by Patanjali, written about 2,000 years ago, answers these three problems. So it tells us how to overcome these three problems in accomplishing what it is that we desire. I'm really excited about sharing what Patanjali has to tell us about solving these problems, and I hope you will join me.